we are on the way to the Blue Ridge Tunnel. I'm really excited about this one. It seems like it's going to be good. It is a massively overcast day, so I'm really hoping the rain is going to hold off long enough for us to do this hike and get this hunt in and hopefully get some really good footage.
We had no idea the tunnel would call us back and back again 3 days in a row, as if someone wasn't quite finished with us just yet. The Crozet Blue Ridge Tunnel entered the American Society of Civil Engineers as a National Historic Civil Engineering Landmark in 1976. Our journey began at the East Portal entrance, where the shadows seemed to gather, even in the daylight.
Into the mouth of hell we go!
The Blue Ridge Tunnel was constructed in the 1950s under the direction of French immigrant Claudius Crozet. The tunnel was brought to life through the labor of Irish workers as well as African Americans. Crozet served as both designer and chief engineer. He never anticipated the immense challenges this project would become. He originally expected the tunnel to be completed by 1853, but nature sure as shit had other plans. During our first hike through the tunnel, I began to sense something. On day one, there was enough people hiking the tunnel, we didn't need our own flashlights all that much. Though still cloaked in darkness, the scattered light from other travelers was just enough to guide the way. About halfway in, the energy shifted. My partner mentioned that we must be reaching the midway point of the tunnel. He wasn't wrong. Something definitely had shifted. The energy, it was not the same. It almost felt newer. Curious, I clicked on my flashlight, and sure enough, we had reached the section lined with red brick. That moment stuck with me. It felt really significant, not just visually, but energetically. And later through research, I discovered something quite curious. The red brick section isn't new at all, yet it radiates a completely different energy, as if the natural rock section remembers something the rest of the tunnel does not. Once we emerged on the other side, we turned around and made our way back. Somewhere along the return walk, I stopped and squatted down to reach out to touch the stream of clear running water along the path. It was then I felt it. Someone was fucking squatting next to me. Right on my head. This sensation was so real and so strong. I had my partner shine the light where I was feeling it just to make sure we hadn't stumbled upon another traveler. Though the lights from the other travelers helped us see to not overly need our light, it was still fucking pitch black in this tunnel. He shined the light. There was no one there. We were alone. As we continued walking, the feeling persisted, and energy was trailing right behind us. You know that sensation when someone's trying to sneak up on you, that pressure at your back, that instinct someone's standing like right freaking behind you? That's exactly what it felt like. Every time I turned to look, nothing was there, but it was very evident someone was walking behind us. Honestly, I'm not really surprised that these sensations were there throughout the tunnel. There were so many lives lost during the tunnel's construction, so who knows how many of these spirits still linger, especially now that their final resting place has been disturbed and opened to the public once more. The orbs were out in force on day one. They were flitting about saying, "Hey, look at me, take my photo." So I did get some really good photos of orbs. I was a bit excited when I started getting the photos of orbs because I just love getting photos of orbs. I ended up walking about a good quarter way back down the tunnel. Though there was plenty of people wandering the tunnel on day one, it did not stop the spirits from stirring. The spirit activity was subtle but unmistakable. There was this feeling of being watched or like being walked behind. And when we stopped to look around or take photos, you could feel someone standing right behind you. Day two. Yes, there was a good number of people there the previous day, but the spirit activity was quite promising. So we're like, with the crummy weather for day two, not many alive people should be going there. So hopefully we would get more spirit contact. So we decided to give it a second try and go for round two. Here we are. After about 3/4 of a mile hike to get here, here we are at the Blue Ridge Park Tunnel. Let's see what we can find. It is said the Blue Ridge Tunnel stays about 50 to 55 degrees year-round going through the tunnel. I don't necessarily think that's very true. Day one, it was very hot outside. The tunnel did feel good, but I would not have said it was 50, 55. Day two, as you can see, it's about 50 degrees outside, so it's a little cooler inside.
Right inside the mouth is 44 degrees.
During the construction of the Blue Ridge Tunnel, the eastern side of the tunnel proved especially grueling. They had to carve through dense, hard rock and unforgiving greenstone. The stone was so resistant that drill bits had to be sharpened 18 to 20 fucking times just to bore a single 18-inch hole. At first glance, that might not seem very remarkable, but for context, while the Baltimore and Ohio Railway was progressing at an impressive rate of 300 feet per month, the Blue Ridge Tunnel inched forward at an average of just 53 feet per month. Some accounts report progress as slow as only 19 feet per month.
About quarter way in is 39 degrees, so it's nice and chilly.
The cost of this tunnel wasn't measured in time and labor alone, it was paid in human lives. The workers and their families bore the true burden of its creation. At least 14 Irishmen were killed in blasting accidents and rockfalls. 2 African men lost their lives in a rail car incident, and another a month later perished in a handcar accident. The Blue Ridge Tunnel was a marvel of its time, a groundbreaking feat of engineering, and the first railroad tunnel in the United States constructed without the use of vertical ventilation shafts. Upon its completion, it held the distinction of being the longest railway tunnel in the entire country, and to this day it remains the longest hand-dug tunnel built using only hand tools and black powder.
Why my camera?
Why are you looking up? I'm looking around. The wind is blowing through here, so I'm not confident this is going to turn up any evidence. Because that is solely the wind blowing it. Is there anyone here in this tunnel that is not of the living with us right now? Is there anyone on the spiritual realm that wishes to communicate with us? We are here, we are listening. Is there anyone or anything across the veil that wishes to communicate with us? Souls of lost and slaves, souls of workers. Does anyone wish to communicate with us? Well then, we got someone coming.
Day 2 is probably the most interesting out of all the days. The energy was lower, there was not as many people traversing the cave, and the spirit interaction was much calmer. We felt like people were watching us as we were walking the cave. You still had that feeling of somebody being behind you, but it was much milder. So like as soon as you felt like you acknowledged that feeling, it was gone. What I found probably the most interesting was we made our way through the tunnel. And once we got to the west end portal, we turned around and we were headed back whence we came. Well, we got maybe 50 feet in and I got this really weird sensation. And I stopped in my tracks. I turned around and looked towards the west end portal. Like I said, we were about 50 feet into the cave, give or take. So we were far enough away, but not completely, oh my God, far in. And when I turned around and looked, there was a fucking man standing in the entrance of the cave, which, okay, that's not very strange, right? Except this man was wearing dress clothes, like dress slacks, a dress jacket, straight like mafia style with a top hat. And all I could really see, was his silhouette. I was too far away. It was too dark to really see facial features or the color of his skin, but it was such a clear image of this man in a top hat in mafia style clothing.
Now, this man, and I say man highly loosely here because I don't necessarily think it was an actual human man. So I'm standing there just staring at this entity, and it wasn't the look that really got me, it was the energy coming off of him. This entity knew why we were there, and he was on purpose keeping these spirits from interacting with us. He was very in control. He was controlling these other spirits, and it really felt like he was mocking us. He felt amused. That was probably the most dominant emotion coming off of him, was he felt highly amused. We were there for spirit interaction, and he was in control. He was stopping that spirit interaction. So day 3, we decided to go back again. Honestly, we both really wanted to. The first day, yes, it was a good amount of people, but it was also a good amount of spirit activity. But day 2, there was hardly like anyone there, like 1 or 2 people's all we passed. And we had the Top Hat Man. So we're like, okay, we've got to go back. We've got to see if it's going to be spirits, Top Hat Man, or what. So day 3, here we go again. Day 3. It was mighty foggy coming, and it is still mighty foggy, but I guess we got so low, it's not foggy once we got here. So hopefully it's going to be a good day. There really is nobody else here, so fingers crossed we will get some activity today. Fog. But apparently we are a bit too low to really have any fog. But there is a lot of it. That is not clouds. Well, technically it's ground clouds, I guess. But it's very foggy.
As I said, there was about 189 deaths during the time of the construction of this tunnel. Not all were in this tunnel, but a good number was. So, let's see what we can come up with. Old faithful pendant. Is there anyone here that wishes to communicate with us that died in the process of building this tunnel? Out of 189 of y'all, somebody's got to be here that wants to communicate with us. We are here. We are listening. I need you to move the pendant enough to make it noticeable. Is there anyone or anything here that wishes to communicate with us? Make yourself known, please. I'm going to need you to move the pendant enough to make it noticeable. The Irish workers, the African American workers, are any of your spirits still here that wish to communicate with us? I need you to move the pendant enough to make it noticeable. Thank you.
After nearly a decade of sweat, blood, and loss, the Blue Ridge Tunnel finally opened for use in April of 1858, but even then it remained incomplete, unfinished in more than one way. Tragedy, it would seem, wasn't quite done with the passage. On June 8th of 1859, 2 more lives were claimed. An Irishman perished within the tunnel itself, and later that same fucking day, another man was killed in an explosion. The work was nearly over. But was the danger?
It is currently 31 degrees.
Definitely wasn't this cold yesterday.
No, it was not.
August 1910 brought with it yet another tragedy. This time it was a young girl named Virginia. If you would like to hear more about her story, be sure to check out the companion blog.
I mean, nothing is coming up. So I had screaming yesterday. Someone following us. But today it's like... It's a constant, like 33 degrees.
Witch type thing.
Blair Witch type thing, really.
Yeah, it's like I need to turn the camera to my face and start snorting and crying.
But you could turn for your face and get some footage. We are about halfway down the tunnel, give or take, about halfway. Today, we are not seeing really any orbs, not really getting anything on the EMF, and a constant about 33 temperature so far. I do recommend having a flashlight because it is mighty, mighty dark. But yeah, we're going to hang out and see what we get. It sounds like I can whistle.
It may look like the cave walls are home to some big old spiders, but thankfully we didn't see a near one. Crawdads, on the other hand, we did see some of.
We made it to the other end again. Still no damn fog though.
In late 1857, stonemasons constructed the arch we now see at the West End portal. Something I found hinky about day 3, our mic decided to glitch out. Some of our equipment glitched out. The batteries died significantly quicker. The first day, the second day, we did nothing different those 2 days than we did on day 3. However, our equipment did kind of glitch out on us on day 3.
But we are going to try again, shall we? Okay. Are there any spirits across the veil in this tunnel that wishes to communicate with us? If there is anyone here that wishes to communicate with us, I need you to move the pendant enough to make it noticeable. If there are any spirits in this tunnel that wishes to communicate, I need you to move the pendant enough to make it noticeable. Nobody wants to play today, it appears.
After nearly a century of service, the Blue Ridge Tunnel was eventually outpaced by the demands of the modern world. From its opening in 1858 to its final days in 1944, it faithfully served as a vital artery through the mountains. But by the 1940s, the era of larger, faster trains had arrived, and the Crozetton's narrow, hand-dug marble could no longer keep up. In 1944, a new, more spacious tunnel was carved into the mountainside, running parallel to the original. With its purpose fulfilled, the old tunnel was quietly abandoned, left to the stillness of the mountains and the echoes of all it had witnessed. Over time, nature crept back in. Moss covered the stone walls, water dripped rhythmically from cracks overhead, and fallen rock littered the once busy railbed. The tunnel fell into shadows, its legacy fading from memory, known only to a few. Locals whispered of strange echoes, of cold drafts that felt like the breath of the past. It wasn't until the early 2000s that preservationists, historians, and community leaders began to take renewed interest. After many fucking years of effort and restoration, the Blue Ridge Tunnel was finally reopened to the public on November 21st, 2020. No longer a passage for trains, but a hike through time. Day 3, the tunnel was empty. There was really no humans there. There was no ghosts there. There was no fucking Top Hat Man. There was nothing. Day 3, it was so empty, it was unreal. On a mundane level, the tunnel felt nice, it was cool, all that stuff, yes. But on a spiritual level where you were ghost hunting, paranormal investigation, whatever you want to call it, there was nothing. There was not a ghost following us. There was not anybody watching us. There was no top hat man anywhere. There was nothing. It's like this top hat man knew while we were there, did not give a shit the first day. You know, everybody was there, everybody was busy. He didn't care. Day 2, there was hardly anyone there, and he realized, oh fuck, you know, he knows why we're here. So then day 2, he shows himself. He makes himself known. He says, all right, motherfuckers, you're here for this. No, I'm in control here. You know, that is his domain, and he was proving that to us. He was showing his dominance. So then day 3, he's like, no, your ass came back. You're not getting anything. You know, you're not getting a damn thing. So day 3 was pretty much zero spirit activity. So the days kind of went a little lopsided, but all in all, it was a pretty interesting trip. If you like this video, be sure to check out the companion blog and remember to subscribe and all that good stuff. But I am really curious, has anyone else experienced this top hat man dressed to the nines at the Blue Ridge Tunnel in Virginia, or maybe any other tunnel around the states? Whether you're a history buff or you just like the paranormal or you just like tunnels, I recommend you checking it out. Carry a bottle of water because it is a nice little hike. We just did parking lot through the tunnel and back, and it was still a nice little hike. Remember, this tunnel is pitch black dark, so whatever flashlight you bring, whatever light you bring is the only light that's in there. I recommend a normal flashlight you can point to the ground in case people are walking towards you. We did have fucking problems with people wearing headlights blinding the piss out of us. And lastly, I would recommend hiking boots. It is clay style mud through the tunnel from where it is dripping, some water dripping. So yeah, I recommend hiking boots. If you go, I hope you have a great fucking time, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and remember to hit the subscribe button, and thanks for watching.